Hello, friends. Have you ever wondered why some people are willing to take huge risks while others get scared even by small things? Why is it that some people make big decisions in their lives without any hesitation, while others think 1,000 times before taking even a single step? Is risk-taking some kind of inborn talent that only a few people are gifted with, or is it something that can actually be learned? Risk is a part of life that, whether we like it or not, we all have to face. But the real question is, what's the right way to take risks? Does it depend only on luck, or is there a scientific reason behind it? If we learn this art, can we also make the biggest decisions of our lives without fear? Today, we're going to talk about a book that reveals the science behind risk-taking, the art of risk. This is not just a book, but a mindset. It teaches us how to control fear, take calculated risks, and achieve extraordinary success in life. Risk-taking isn't only for daredevils or adventure seekers. It's a skill anyone can develop, whether you want to grow your business, advance in your career, or make bold decisions in your personal life. Taking risks is necessary. But there's a huge difference between taking the right risk and taking a meaningless one. This book explains what kind of system works inside our brain that decides whether we accept a risk or back away in fear. Is there a way to train our mind so we can take the right risks at the right time? Do our past experiences, our way of thinking, and our personality affect whether we become risk takers or not? The biggest lesson of this book is that fear is always the biggest obstacle in the path of risk-taking. But the truth is, successful risk-takers are not the ones who feel no fear. They are the ones who learn how to manage it. So, risk-taking doesn't mean acting recklessly or without thinking. It means understanding your fear, getting clear about your goals, and then creating a smart strategy to handle the risk. That's why, if you also want to become a bold and confident person in life, if you want to be among those people who chase their biggest dreams without fear, then this video is for you. In this video, we will decode the most powerful strategies from the art of risk. These strategies will teach you how to develop the right balance of risk-taking inside you, control fear, and achieve success in your life. So without wasting any more time, let's begin this exciting journey and learn the true art of taking risks. Chapter 1. Your Brain on Risk. Have you ever wondered why some people aren't afraid to jump off a high cliff, ride a motorcycle at top speed, or invest millions in their business, while others hesitate to take even small risks? Why does this happen? Does it depend only on our personality, or is there a scientific reason behind it? This chapter reveals something surprising. Risk-taking doesn't depend only on luck or bravery. It's actually a deeply wired biological process that constantly runs inside our brain. Whenever we face a risky situation, our brain starts doing fast calculations. Is this risk safe? Could the results be positive? Will I be able to handle failure? And then, our body reacts according to those calculations. But here's the interesting part. Not everyone's brain processes risk the same way. Some people are naturally more risk-taking, while others are more cautious. The reason for this lies deep inside our brain. Whenever we face a risk, our brain makes decisions based on three major systems: the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, and the dopamine system. The amygdala is what reacts whenever we see a big risk. It sends out an alert signal. Stop, this could be dangerous. That's why when someone stands at a great height and looks down, or when they feel fear before starting a new business, the amygdala is at work. But that's not the end of the story. The prefrontal cortex analyzes that risk logically. It compares our past experiences, our goals, and the possible rewards of taking the risk. If the prefrontal cortex decides the risk is worth it, then it gives the green light. And then comes the dopamine system, the feel-good chemical in our brain. This is the part that makes us feel thrill and excitement. When we take a risk and succeed, the dopamine system sends a strong reward signal. Yes, that was amazing. Try it again. That's why some people don't get scared of risks. Instead, they want to experience the thrill again and again. But there's also a downside. Sometimes the dopamine system can push us into making wrong decisions. When someone shows extreme risk-taking behavior, like gambling, high-speed racing, or making unnecessarily dangerous choices, it can be the result of dopamine overactivity. Some people are naturally more sensitive to dopamine, and that's why they repeatedly take high risks, even when failure is likely. Now, the big question is, can risk-taking be controlled? Can we train our brain to take the right risks at the right time and avoid unnecessary ones? Yes, it's possible. If we understand these three systems in our brain, we can manage our fear, improve our logical thinking, and keep our dopamine system under control. The most powerful message of this chapter is that risk-taking is not a random talent. It's a biological and psychological process that we can understand and master. Smart risk-takers are those who create a perfect balance between their instincts, their experiences, and their logical thinking. They neither take risks blindly nor let fear make them miss opportunities. So the next time you face a big decision, ask yourself 3 questions. Is it my amygdala stopping me? Is my prefrontal cortex analyzing this risk correctly? Is my dopamine system pulling me toward the right reward? If you understand this formula, you can handle any risk wisely and achieve your biggest goals in life. Risk is an art, and mastering it is possible. You just need to understand your brain the right way. Chapter 2. The myth of fearlessness. Have you ever seen people who don't hesitate to jump from great heights, who ride their bikes at extreme speed, or who invest millions in new business ideas without fear? We think these people are fearless, that they don't feel fear at all. But is that really true? Are some people born free of fear? Or is that just a myth? This chapter breaks that illusion. The truth is, there's no such thing as complete fearlessness. Every human feels fear, no matter how brave they appear. The only difference is that some people learn how to manage their fear, while others surrender to it. Whenever we face a risky situation, our brain instantly goes into alert mode. We feel a wave of uneasiness. Our heartbeat gets faster, our palms start sweating, and our mind says, "Stop, this could be dangerous." That's our amygdala putting us into survival mode. This system has existed in us for millions of years and has always helped us survive dangers. But in today's world, threats aren't only about wild animals in the jungle. Risks exist in career decisions, public speaking, investments, and relationships. Yet, when we face these modern risks, our brain still gives the same primitive reaction it would to a life-threatening danger. So here's the question. If fear is natural, then how do the world's biggest risk-takers make such bold decisions? Do they not feel fear? The truth is, real risk-takers are the ones who move forward despite feeling fear. They don't ignore fear. They understand it, accept it, and then turn it into their strength. That's the real mindset shift, the difference between an ordinary person and an extraordinary one. A professional skydiver feels fear when jumping from thousands of feet in the air. An entrepreneur feels fear of failure when starting their first business. But the difference is, they don't let fear control them. They know fear is just a signal telling us that we're stepping out of our comfort zone. And only by stepping out of that comfort zone can real growth happen. When we fully understand fear, we can use it to our advantage. Fear makes us alert. It forces us to think. It makes us more prepared. The right amount of fear helps us perform better. But if fear grows too much, it paralyzes us, stops us from making decisions, and locks our life inside a limiting box. That's why the most important thing is not to suppress fear, but to learn how to manage it. Instead of asking, "How do I eliminate fear?" we should ask, "How can I move forward with fear by my side?" The world's greatest leaders, athletes, and artists don't get rid of fear. They make it their ally. So, the next time you feel nervous before making a risky decision, don't see it as weakness. It's a signal that you're pushing your limits. Feeling fear is not wrong, but losing opportunities because of it can be the biggest mistake. Fearlessness is a myth, but fear management is an art, and that's the greatest lesson of this chapter. If you learn this art, No fear can stop you from reaching your dream life. Chapter 3. The Risk Ladder. Have you ever wondered why, in the exact same situation, some people move forward without fear while others panic and step back? Imagine two friends standing together on a high cliff. One of them is ready to jump immediately, while the other feels uncomfortable and backs away. Or think of two entrepreneurs facing the same business challenge. One takes the leap, the other gets overwhelmed. Why does this happen? Every person has a different level of risk-taking. It's not something fixed. It works like a ladder. Every time we take a risk and succeed, our brain gets ready for the next bigger risk. But when we keep avoiding risks again and again, our confidence starts to shrink, and slowly, we begin to feel fear even in small decisions. Think about a child learning to ride a bicycle for the first time. At first, they wobble and fall, but slowly, they learn to balance. When they finally manage to ride a short distance without falling, their confidence grows. Next, they try to ride faster. And within a few days, they're confidently riding all around the street without fear. That's the risk ladder. By taking small risks, we prepare ourselves for bigger ones. But if that child gave up at the beginning out of fear of falling, they would never learn at all. Now apply this to real life. Suppose you're afraid of public speaking. If you expect yourself to suddenly speak confidently in front of thousands of people, it will feel impossible. But if you take small steps, first speaking in front of your friends, then a small group, then at a meeting, your confidence will keep growing, and you'll eventually overcome your fear. The world's greatest risk-takers also climbed this same ladder to reach the top. No one becomes an extreme risk-taker in a single day. Every big decision, every big adventure, every great success begins with small risks. That's why some people can handle high-risk situations so easily, because they develop their risk-taking ability gradually. The biggest lesson of this chapter is that if you're afraid of taking risks in your life, you don't need to jump into a huge risk right away. You only need to take one step higher on your risk ladder. Accept small challenges, step out of your comfort zone, and slowly leave your fear behind. Because if you always stay in the safe zone, your life will never change. But if you build your risk-taking ability step by step, you can achieve what today feels impossible. Risk is like a ladder. Small steps can take you to great heights. The question is, are you ready to take that very first step? Chapter 4. Training for Risk. Is risk-taking a talent that some people are born with, or is it a skill that can be learned and developed? This is an important question, because whenever we see a risk-taker, whether it's a high-stakes entrepreneur or an adventurer, it often feels like they have some kind of superpower that allows them to make big decisions without fear. But the truth is very different. Risk-taking is not magic. It's a skill you can learn through the right training. When it comes to taking risks, it doesn't depend only on luck or natural boldness. It depends on how prepared we are for the situation. Risk-taking is not a coin toss. It is a calculated process that you can improve by training both your mind and your body. Think about it. When a firefighter enters a burning building, do they jump in without thinking? No. They understand how fire spreads. They know where to go and how to minimize danger. They've gone through training and repeated drills, which prepare their brain to make the right decisions at the right moment. That's what training for risk really means. Preparing your mind and body so that when a high-stakes situation comes, you can make the right choice without panic. If you want to invest in a new business, would you put millions into it without research? Of course not. First, you would study the market, analyze data, talk to experts, and then take a calculated risk. That's the real formula for risk-taking: the right preparation, the right knowledge, and the right execution. The most important factor for improving your risk-taking ability is exposure. If you fear something, you need to repeatedly put yourself in that situation until your brain begins to see it as normal. For example, when a Navy SEAL trains to hold his breath underwater for the first time, he panics. But after repeated training, his brain accepts the situation as normal, and he can complete the mission without fear. This same concept applies to all types of risk-taking. The second important factor is simulation. Before taking a real risk, you can practice for it. Pilots train in flight simulators before flying thousands of feet in the air. Doctors practice surgeries using virtual reality before performing them on patients. Athletes constantly test and refine their performance. When your brain has already experienced a situation many times, the fear of facing it in reality decreases significantly. So, can anyone train themselves to become a smart risk-taker? According to Kayt Sukel, the answer is absolutely yes. If you give yourself the right training and exposure, you can step outside your comfort zone and make better decisions. Every great risk-taker first prepared themselves with small steps. And that's the biggest secret. The most powerful lesson of this chapter is this: risk-taking is not a magical power. It is a skill you can learn. If you train properly, develop the right mindset, and gradually expose yourself to challenges, you too can become one of those people who take even the biggest risks smartly and achieve massive success in life. So now the question is, are you ready to train yourself for your next risk? Chapter 5. The Power of Intuition. Have you ever felt that just before making a big decision, a voice inside you said, "This is right, do it"? Or maybe you suddenly sensed in a situation that something was wrong and you should stay away from it. That inner voice, what we often call the sixth sense or gut feeling, is what we mean by intuition. And did you know? The world's greatest risk-takers rely heavily on intuition when making decisions. Intuition is not magic or mystery. It is actually one of the most powerful decision-making tools of our brain, though we often ignore it. Intuition gives us the ability to sense things that our conscious mind cannot immediately process. For example, when an experienced doctor can guess a patient's illness without any tests, or when an investor chooses to put money into a company without analyzing a ton of data, or when a soldier senses unseen danger before it strikes. That is the power of intuition. So how does intuition really work? Whenever we experience something new, our brain stores that experience. These stored pieces of knowledge and patterns keep building in our unconscious mind. Then, when we face a risky situation, our brain quickly scans these past experiences and sends us a signal, "This is right" or "This is wrong," without doing a detailed logical analysis. That signal is intuition. Let's understand with a simple example. Suppose you're exploring a new city and you come across two paths. One path is clean and well lit, while the other is dark and deserted. Without much thought, your mind will say the first path is safer. Why? Because your brain has combined past experiences and childhood stories to create a pattern that dark, empty paths can be dangerous. That's intuition in action. The same thing happens in risk-taking. A professional poker player can sense whether an opponent has a strong hand without even seeing their cards. A stock market trader can predict whether a company's shares will rise or fall. An athlete can make the perfect split-second decision without overthinking. All of this comes from years of experience sharpening their intuition. But here's an interesting point. Intuition is not always right. Sometimes our brain forms wrong patterns because of past experiences, and that can lead us to poor decisions. That's why Kayt Sukel explains that sharpening intuition requires two things. First, gaining as much experience as possible, and second, cross-checking your intuition with data and logic. In other words, you shouldn't blindly trust intuition. You should balance it with logical thinking. The biggest advantage of intuition in risk-taking is speed. When we don't have time to overthink and must act immediately, our conscious mind cannot process fast enough. But our intuitive mind is already prepared. That's why experienced people can make quicker and better decisions, because their intuition is already sharp. The key lesson of this chapter is that intuition can work like a superpower, but it needs to be developed. The more you expose yourself to new experiences, the more you learn from your past mistakes, the stronger your intuitive power becomes. And once your intuition is strong, you will be able to make fast and correct decisions even in the riskiest situations. So here's the question. Are you ready to unlock the power of your intuition? Chapter 6. The Risk-Taking Personality. Have you ever wondered why some people are always ready to take risks in any situation, while others avoid even the smallest risks? Some people don't hesitate to jump from heights, ride a motorcycle at full speed, or invest millions in a new business. At the same time, others think 1,000 times before making even small decisions. Why does this happen? Is risk-taking just a habit, a skill that can be learned, or is it a part of personality? Risk-taking is not a single behavior. It's actually a part of our personality. This means that every individual has a different capacity for taking risks, and much of it depends on how our brain is wired. When we talk about risk-taking, it's not just about making a choice. It is deeply connected with our biology, psychology, and past experiences. Some people's brains have a very active dopamine system, which pulls them toward thrill and excitement. That's why such people are more interested in adventure sports, gambling, or high-stakes business. Their brain constantly pushes them to search for something new. On the other hand, some people's brains are more cautious. Their mind tells them to analyze every risk carefully and choose safety over uncertainty. Risk-taking personalities can generally be divided into 3 categories. High-risk takers. These people get excited by new challenges. They constantly want novelty and are willing to accept uncertainty. Moderate risk takers. These people take calculated risks. They think carefully before making decisions, but when needed, they don't hesitate to take big steps. Low risk takers. These people prioritize stability. They want to stay safe in every situation and try to avoid uncertainty. Now the question is, can a person's risk-taking personality be changed? Kayt Sukel says yes, it's possible. Risk-taking is not a fixed trait. It is shaped by our habits, environment, and experiences. For example, if someone is a low risk taker, they can gradually increase their risk-taking ability. When we put ourselves into small, risky situations and handle them successfully, our brain starts to see risk-taking as normal. Similarly, high risk takers need to learn when and how much risk to take so they can avoid unnecessary losses. The biggest advantage of understanding risk-taking personality is that you can recognize your own strengths and weaknesses. If you are naturally risk-averse, you can push yourself out of your comfort zone and take on new challenges. And if you are someone who takes too many risks, you can learn to control yourself and make more calculated, thoughtful decisions. The biggest lesson of this chapter is that a risk-taking personality is not permanent. If you want, you can change your mindset, expand your comfort zone, and balance your decisions. Real success only comes to those who understand their own nature and try to improve themselves. So the question is, are you ready to understand and improve your own risk-taking ability? Conclusion: risk is a word that brings excitement to some and fear to others. But risk-taking is not a random act. It is a skill that can be learned. It is connected to the wiring of our brain, our experiences, and our personality. In this book, we learned how our brain processes risk, how fear can be managed, and how small, calculated risks can lead us to big success. The art of risk teaches us that anyone can become a smart risk-taker if they adopt the right mindset and the right training. The world's greatest entrepreneurs developed their risk-taking skills and stepped outside their comfort zones to make big decisions. They not only conquered their fears, but also saw risk as an opportunity. The biggest takeaway of this book is that risk-taking is not a coin toss. It is an art. The more you understand it and practice it, the more bold and meaningful decisions you can make in your life. Whether you want to advance in your career, start a new business, or take a big step in any area of your life, instead of running from risk, it is important to understand it and embrace it. If you liked this book and learned something new from it, try to apply it in your life. Risk-taking is the bridge that takes you from an ordinary life to extraordinary success. So the next time you face a big decision, ask yourself, Is this risk worth taking? And if the answer is yes, then how can I take it in the smartest way possible? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and share it. Subscribe to the Arcane Almanac channel and press the bell icon so you continue to get more powerful book series like this. Tell us in the comments how you like this book and which book summary you want to see next. See you in the next video with a new book, a new lesson, and a new mindset. Keep learning, keep growing.